in the horror genre. I'm your host, Nicole, and it's time to share another dark tale.
Welcome back, friends and weirdos. I know that on the last episode I said that you wouldn't be hearing from me for a while, but I recently attended a film festival that is local to me, Nightmare in the Ozarks, and I wanted to pop on and do a little bonus episode because I think it's a really cool event. It's only in its second year, and I think because it's local to me, it kind of feels like it's not as big of a deal. And I think this year I realized that this is really something kind of cool and kind of special that I think horror fans all over should know about. And so I just wanted to come on and give you a little overview about the atmosphere, the scheduling, some of the movies I saw, the overall vibe, and just fill you in case any of you out there would like to join me at Nightmare in the Ozarks next year. So before I dig into the specifics of the festival, you need to know a little bit about Eureka Springs, which is where the festival is located. Eureka Springs has been a place of interest and like a tourist town for a very long time. It has all of these mineral springs. Eureka Springs is nestled sort of up in the Ozark Mountains. It's very close to the Missouri border. So in the mountains of Eureka Springs, there are all these mineral springs that have long been thought to have healing properties. So people have been coming to the springs since the 1800s. The railroad was built in the late 1800s, and that really facilitated a lot of a big tourist boom. And then, of course, the Crescent Hotel was built in Eureka Springs in 1886. If you follow ghost hunting shows, supernatural, paranormal podcasts, there's a good chance you've heard of the Crescent Hotel. She has a reputation of being America's most haunted hotel. And sure, part of that is marketing, but it really does have quite a history, quite a story. It was a hotel first, like a resort hotel for wealthy folks. They would come here, ride the railroad up here, and, spend their holiday at the Crescent. Fell on hard times for a while. It was a girls' college. It was briefly a hospital. And that in and of itself is a very interesting story. This man, a Dr. Norman Baker, was a charlatan, a snake oil salesman, basically ran the hotel as a quote unquote cancer hospital, and was not a doctor, was not curing people of cancer, was ripping people off. And so I like to say it's such a unique location because it's a hotel, college, and a hospital wrapped up in one. And at every phase of its history, it's had stories, death, tragedy. So it really is a very unique place as far as historic hotels go. So like all tourist towns, Eureka Springs has had its ups and downs, but post-World War II, it became kind of an affordable, simple lifestyle for artists. So a lot of artists flocked to Eureka Springs to live there. Beaver Lake was built in the 60s, and so there were more tourist attractions opened up in the area in the 60s. So that's when Eureka Springs became kind of the modern tourist area that it is today. People from all over the region will come there for staycations and stuff like that. It is really a haven for weirdos and misfits. It's a unique place because sort of people from all walks of life sort of coexist there. There's a play called The Great Passion Play, and it's about Jesus' life. So lots of church groups come. Bikers are welcome there. It's always been very LGBTQ friendly. Before that was even popular, before Pride was even popular, they were doing it in Eureka Springs. So they have just always welcomed lots of different types of people. And that is what's really so special about it. It's also has been called in the past Little Switzerland because of its geography. There are little Victorian houses built up into the hills and up into the side of mountains. Main Street is basically, there's like mountain cliffs on both sides and very hilly, just a very unique place. And my family has been going to Eureka Springs as long as I can remember. So it's a second home to me. And then my husband's family lives there as well. So I have spent a ton of time in Eureka Springs. I got married there. My husband and I got married at the Faye Jones designed Thorn Crown Chapel, which is a glass chapel in the forest. Had our wedding reception at the infamous Crescent Hotel. My brother-in-law worked at the Crescent Hotel for, I think, like a decade. So Eureka Springs it's just a second home to me. I know it's special, but I think sometimes I forget sort of how special it really is. And because of the general history of the town and it being a place for weirdos, and because of the Crescent's reputation, it has continued to be a popular place around Halloween. There are lots of like crafty and some like witchy vendors. And they started doing Eureka Springs loves a parade. Let me just say that first. They do a Mardi Gras parade. They do a St. Patrick's Day parade. And they started doing the zombie crawl. I don't know how long ago. A long time. They've been doing the zombie crawl a long time. And so the zombie crawl has turned into a really big attraction. And people come to Eureka Springs to stay in the historic hotels and to do the zombie crawl or watch the zombie crawl. I think I've done the zombie crawl. I have definitely done St. Patrick's Day and Mardi Gras, and I'm pretty sure I've done the zombie crawl. But it's not really something that, I made it a point to go to every year. However, last year, I think I saw on a Facebook ad or something, like on social media, that they were doing a film festival in Eureka Springs the same weekend as the zombie crawl. And I was like, what? Like, we're getting a horror film festival like 45 minutes from my house in a place that feels like home to me. Like, it felt very like surreal almost. And I did not know anything about it, but was like, if there's a horror film festival near me, I mean, I have to go. I have to check it out. I did not know what to expect at all, but I was pretty excited about it. So all of the films that screen at Nightmare in the Ozarks are like low or micro budget, independent. This is not a Fantastic Fest, an Overlook, it's not anything like that. You're not going to see something that then is going to be on Shudder 6 months later. The stuff that I saw last year, I don't think I've heard anybody else talk about it or like seen it, any of it anywhere. So it's very, very small. And I hesitate to use the word underground because it's not really that. It's just these films just don't have the backing of a studio and the studio machine. And so the only way you're going to really be aware of them is if you see them at one of these little small festivals. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw. Of course, the quality varied, but I kind of expected it to all be like maybe not the greatest, and was pretty impressed with what I got. I had to leave early last year. I would think I was only there like 24 hours total. So I didn't get to do much, but I really enjoyed it. And so this year I knew what to expect a little more, but was definitely all in, wanted to go, went for longer. I still didn't stay for the whole festival. I left before the zombie crawl. Because the big day at Nightmare in the Ozarks is Friday and the zombie crawl is on Saturday, and people start flocking to the city on Saturday, and it gets really difficult. You can't find parking, you can't move around, you can't get into restaurants. It's a whole scene. So if you're not in Eureka Springs for zombie crawl specifically, it becomes just a little bit difficult to do anything else. And so they sort of pause the film festival while Zombie Crawl is going on. They encourage everyone to go to the Zombie Crawl, and then afterwards they do the awards ceremony. So I stayed till midday Saturday, but I was there all day Friday for the main day. And it was just a blast to be there for kind of like prime time. It was bigger and better this year. I mean, last year they did a great job, but I could tell that this year they learned from last year and stepped it up. I thought the quality of films were even better, even though I was impressed last year. This year, the quality of films that was better. The variety was better. And they also had a lot of filmmakers in attendance, which is great because I love to, even if I don't, love a movie, it's always interesting to hear what the filmmakers have to say. So, just to hear about the process, the inspiration, the challenges, that's always interesting. So sometimes even you catch something you didn't expect. Like I got to one movie, I just happened to get there, 15, 20 minutes before the movie I wanted to see started. So I caught the very end of a movie and got to hear the Q&A with that filmmaker. So yeah, it was great to be there. And like I said, this year I just decided to talk about it. Last year I didn't really know kind of what to say or what I thought or how I felt or if anybody would care. And this year I was like, I don't know if any other horror podcast anywhere is going to be covering this. And it's local to me. It's in a city that I love. And I want to support it and I want to get the word out. So I'm not going to talk about every movie that I saw, but I want to talk about the ones that I kind of enjoyed the most and just put it on your radar so that when they do come out, you can look them up and give them a watch and enjoy them hopefully as much as I did. And, it'll be something fresh that probably none of your horror friends have heard of or seen. So the first movie that I saw was a documentary called The Fright Stuff. And last year, I don't think they had any documentaries. There were 2 documentaries this year, and I was like, I have to see both of these because I love documentaries. So The Fright Stuff was directed by Mike Meyer, not to be confused with Mike Myers. And it follows the life and times of the haunted attraction industry in the United States, the history, the people, and the lasting imprint it's had on the culture.
Here people think of us as carnies a lot, but now they're starting to think of us as carnies that make money.
Halloween is a $7 billion industry, and haunted houses are taking at least $1 billion of that $7 billion. It's such an exciting business to be part of.
There's this dream that I always had for this company. It's been in the mix for like the last 8-10 years.
Hell's Gate Haunted House.
So this was really fun. This was a great way to kick off the festival for me because it gives a little bit of, this documentary gave a little bit of history about haunts, like how in the world the haunted house industry even got started. So there was a little bit about the history of Halloween in there and the carnival sort of circuit and all of that. And I found all that to be really entertaining. And then they followed one guy in particular who has built many premium haunted attractions and kind of his journey over the years, some of his challenges. And it followed them leading up to like the opening of his latest haunted house in Chicago called Hell's Gate. Also, he went to a convention because there are these haunter conventions where people buy props and stuff and talk to other haunters in the industry and stuff. And it was just so fun to watch these people who love horror and love building these haunted attractions. They put their own money, their own resources, their own life savings into this. And then also they talked a little bit to the actors and, why do you like to be a scare actor and the community that they've built and all of that. And it was just a joy. It was I think it was an hour and a half, like a standard hour and a half, maybe just a little bit less. And honestly, I probably could have had another 15 or 30 minutes of it and enjoyed it because it was just such a rich group. And I would love to hear even more from these folks. The next one that I saw was a slasher called The Red Mask, directed by Ritesh Gupta. When outspoken queer screenwriter Alina Green is chosen to pen the final installment of the legendary slasher franchise The Red Mask, anger, outrage, and online death threats from diehard fans cause a rift in her relationship with her fiancé Dietz. Desperate for a creative breakthrough, the pair escape to a secluded Airbnb where Alina concocts a dangerous game for the two to play to unlock her writer's block. But when two uninvited house guests crash the scene, the weekend turns dark and a twisted game devolves into a duel to the death.
What's your job?
I've been hired to write the remake of The Red Mask.
The home invasion film of home invasion films. You're writing that?
Bingo. We came to act out every variation of home invasion. We role play. Not like that.
A game. I want to play.
Hell yeah. No distractions. Let's kill each other. Whoa!
Do you think we're killers?
I suppose I'm a killer, yeah.
Who is it?
Is this a new game? Are we playing another round?
Someone else.
Who else is here?
Is this part of the game? They're changing the rules. This isn't supposed to happen.
He's gone crazy. He thinks the game is real.
You have to trust me. She'll kill me too.
Is there something you want to tell me?
So what now?
We gotta end with a bang.
Let's play.
Can we cut the fucking games?
This one was so fun. It felt like it had your classic slasher ingredients, but it was felt like an original concept. It was filmed, and this is one of the things I learned in the filmmaker Q&A, filmed in the Friday the 13th, the final chapter house. So it has, that familiar setting. The characters were endearing. Of course, I loved that they had a woman writing this whatever sequel, requel, reboot of a classic slasher franchise, and kind of some of her challenges and the pressure she felt trying to make something fresh and something good while also staying true to the fans. It's just a dynamic that we've all had to navigate for the last 20 years since remakes became a thing. And so it was definitely a relevant topic, but handled in a really cool way. The kills were good, and it had a really appropriate ending, I felt, for the story. So for me, overall, really, really a well-rounded movie. I don't have a lot of really critique for this one. It looked really polished. I think it looked better than I'm sure the budget that it had. And it was just a lot of fun. So I definitely would recommend The Red Mask. The next one on my list is a found footage movie called Tribe, directed by Dan Asma. A desperate man lost in the mountains has to reconstruct his past to understand how he reached the edge of insanity.
In our world, there will be no loyalty, there will be no emotions except fear and rage. Always, at every moment, there will be the intoxication of power.
Devon, it's nice to finally meet you. Don't be afraid. You're safe.
Is this a dream?
No. This is real.
I don't understand. Where am I?
And that synopsis is pretty vague, but to be fair, this movie is also pretty vague. But that is, I think, what's good about it. You know, I think a found footage movie works best when we don't know a lot and we're sort of just discovering it with the character. And so this movie in that way kind of has like a YouTube channel feel. The main character is a professor, and he's sort of like investigating this strange thing. And so it's almost like he's putting these clips out on YouTube and you're just watching, you know, over the months or whatever, even though it's cut together in a film. It's a very unique story. And honestly, that to me was a common thread in the entire festival. I felt like every movie I saw felt fresh in its concept. So this story is unique because it's melding a lot. It's doing a lot. It's melding a lot of things and it's working. So we're getting cryptids, we're getting cults, we're getting ancient alien vibes, and it's all working. The story, the story and the lore that's built kind of weaves those things together in a really effective way. This movie was genuinely creepy. Like, I was creeped out. It showed just enough of the, like, quote unquote monsters and paranormal throughout most of the movie to get to, like, to make you be like, what am I seeing? But would always cut away like just before they were about to show you too much. So you're always just seeing things just a little far away, or they're going by quickly, or they're obscured in some way so that you know it's something very strange, but you're not exposed to it kind of long enough to figure it out. And I thought that was just fantastic. Unfortunately, the ending of this movie fell really flat for me. It was a feature, so it was, you know, around 90 minutes long, and for, you know, probably up until the last maybe 15 minutes, I was fully engrossed, even though we still hadn't learned much. Like I really think we're not going to get an explanation here. This is going to wrap up and we're truly going to be left to sort of like kind of know what's going on, but not sure. But they went the route of giving an explanation to everything. And it looked different than the rest of the movie. The tone was different than the rest of the movie. All the mystery was sort of sucked out of it. So that's really unfortunate. But I will say I would watch this movie again. I would recommend this movie especially to people who are interested in found footage, because like I said, I think it was fresh and creepy. So regardless of the ending, 10 out of 10 would watch again. Also, an interesting thing, so the guy who created this, Dan Asma, he also starred in it. He's the main star in it, directed it, edited it. And the reason why I think it was constructed so well and edited so well is because he is part owner of a marketing company, and their primary job is to cut movie trailers. I believe I read that his company did the trailer for Hereditary and a whole bunch of other horror stuff. So I am really excited to kind of maybe follow this man's career. I don't know if he, wants to get into features all the time, or if this was just something he just did as a passion project, but I would be interested to see his future projects. The next one I watched was another documentary, Theater of Horrors. And this movie was about the Paris Grand Guignol Theater. It was produced by Severin Films, which I think we're all familiar with, and directed by David Gregory. Occupying a former chapel in a seedy Pigalle alley, Paris's Théâtre du Grand Guignol first welcomed audiences to witness its unflinchingly horrific and naturalistic stage plays in 1897. During the next 65 years of gruesome performances, the Theater of Death developed a distinct brand of drama so sadistic yet brilliant it captivated the world well beyond its final bow. Today, the theater's name remains synonymous with macabre plots, and its legacy from the modern horror genre to tabloid journalism, the true crime phenomenon, and beyond continues to have a profound impact on popular culture worldwide.
The Pigalle district of Paris is a seedy red light area.
Donc c'est un endroit parfait pour monter une salle de théâtre.
Il existait à Paris une scène où on pouvait représenter des spectacles d'épouvante. Du sang, des tortures, des cris, des gens énucléés sur scène, etc.
The spectacle of horror.
The Grand Guignol Theatre opens in 1897. It's the same year that Dracula is published.
In France, the horror genre is a little different.
The Grand Guignol was based on real and possible horrors, not the supernatural.
The Grand Guignol was exploring this new frontier about madness.
Taking stories ripped out of the headlines and turned them into extremely exaggerated crime thrillers.
It was all classes, the rich, the poor, women, men, everybody is coming.
On venait de l'étranger pour voir ce théâtre, c'était une curiosité comme la Tour Eiffel, de préférence pour me voir souffrir.
L'actrice la plus célèbre, c'est Paula Maxa. Et elle est réputée pour ses cris. C'est peut-être la première scream queen au monde.
The most assassinated woman in the world.
Grand Guignol was part of a deviant experience.
People fainted and were so shocked. The police didn't know what to do because entertainments are supposed to be moralistically correct, and we still believe this.
Horror's very malign because a lot of it is about gut reaction.
The theater never appeared in normal theater history. That was among the most popular in Paris. When it died, it disappeared completely.
Since then, I've often thought of it, 75 years later, it's pretty good.
Grand Guignol, ça se pense pas. Ça se ressent. C'est là où c'est formidable.
Allowing yourself to be pulled into uncomfortable experiences is really what the horror genre is all about.
I surrendered myself to the Grand Guignol. All our nightmares were played out on that stage.
I loved this one too. It was very informative. I have always heard about Grand Guignol. I don't think I ever really knew what it was. I thought that Grand Guignol was like a style of theater that was, you know, grotesque and macabre. I didn't know it was a place, like a theater. And so that was fascinating, and to learn about how it was in this like seedy, not in Montmartre, like where Moulin Rouge is, but close to that. So it was in the art district. It was in sort of the red light district. So where the real weirdos in Paris hung out. Grand Guignol was like down this little, very back of this little alley. And I thought, man, like what a time to be alive. That must have been so cool. To get to experience something like that in, you know, high society Paris. I was also amazed at like just how gory they got way back then. 1897. And they were like chopping limbs off and they had stage blood. And I mean, I just never would have thought that that was present anywhere. And it is kind of a shame. It was kind of sad to hear about sort of the downfall of it. But it lasted until the 60s. So from 1897 to like 1960 something. So it was open for a very long time. And of course, it has such a huge influence on a lot of things. But I have to believe that it had an influence on, of course, like Universal horror, which has now influenced modern horror. And I just think if we hadn't had the Grand Guignol and some of their cutting edge, macabre stuff, we might not be where we are today in the horror genre. And even though it is gone now, like it's not recognizable on the outside, but it is still a theater. So not a spooky theater, and it's lost, I think, all of its character, but at least it's not a Walgreens, So Theater of Horrors, definitely check that one out. I mean, that one would be worth even, dare I say, buying from Severin on physical media. It's a good watch. You won't be disappointed. And the last one I'm going to talk about is a short film. Last year, I watched a lot of short films because that's just what was playing during the time that I had. And I really enjoy short films a lot. But this year, I only saw one short film. And again, I got to the movie I wanted to see. I got there a little bit early and was treated to this little short called Howl If You Love Me by John R. Dilworth. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because John R. Dilworth is the creator and the animator who did Courage the Cowardly Dog. I did not expect to see a work of his at this film festival. So when I was sitting there and they told me that I was about to see a John R. Dilworth animated short, I became a very happy camper. And it is basically just a little 15-minute story about these two girlfriend, and the girlfriend is a werewolf. And they go camping together with their dog, and I think they've sort of forgotten that it's going to be the full moon, and she starts to transform, and they have to rush back to the city so she can get into her safe room, and just hijinks ensue. It is exactly what you'd expect if you love Courage the Cowardly Dog. I mean, it's the same tone, it's the same sense of humor, it's the same animation style. It's exactly what you'd expect. Just an eensy bit more adult because, as you know, Courage the Cowardly Dog always skewed a little adult. This one, you could still show this one to kids, but the tone was a little more adult. It just, what a treat. It was just such a treat. Now, I'm sure that you could probably find it on YouTube or something. Probably not yet, but when it is sort of released off the festival circuit, I'm sure it will be pretty easy to find. And that's it, folks. Like I said, that's not everything I saw, but those were the real standouts for me. And just to wrap up my thoughts on this, Nightmare in the Ozarks, it's a special event. I just really realized it this time. I had such a good time and really sort of got to see a city I'm very familiar with, kind of with new eyes and a new light. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you want to see some stuff that you're never going to hear about or never see any other way. I think you'll be charmed by the town, by the people, by the staff. And when I say staff, I'm not just talking about the Nightmare in the Ozarks staff. I'm talking about the servers you encounter, the retail workers you encounter, the entertainment you see, just even the people that, I sat next to at the bar or whatever, just visitors. Everybody's so friendly. Everybody's there to have a great spooky weekend, whether they're there for Zombie Crawl or they're there for the film festival. People are there to wear costumes. They're there with their friends. They're there to have a good time. They're there to celebrate Halloween. Everybody is just, it's good vibes all around. I also want to mention, I meant to mention this earlier and just forgot, but the same person who is the director of the film festival and of the zombie crawl. His name is Colton. I met him briefly last year, and then I met him again earlier this month at a book signing. He just wrote a book called Morbidly Curious. He has a PhD in psychology, and his book Morbidly Curious is about like the science of why we like fear, why we're fascinated by macabre things. And so he was doing a book tour and came to my local bookstore. And so I went to the book signing, visited with him there. Of course, saw him over the weekend at Nightmare in the Ozarks. But he also has opened up a couple more spooky businesses in Eureka Springs. One of them is a Haunted Grounds coffee shop, and the other one is the Bodega. And the Bodega is, of course, it's like a little convenience store. But those businesses are right next to each other, and they're painted like deep, deep purple and black and just really appropriately spooky. And I just love to see more horror-themed stuff in Eureka Springs. It just works. It just makes sense. I can't believe that no one's done it sooner. And I hope that more will follow suit. And those businesses are both on the main drag, but sort of down on the end of the main drag. So you sort of have to like walk down the hill. And they feel just an eensy bit isolated. So again, it's like a little hidden gem down there to go get your coffee at Haunted Grounds, pop into the Bodega, get a bottle of water, get a beer, grab an aspirin if you need it. So that just really enriches the whole experience as well. And I stayed at the Basin Park Hotel. Eureka Springs being a tourist town, I mean, there's no shortage of accommodations. You can stay at bed and breakfasts. You can stay at like a motel. You can stay at historic hotels because, as I mentioned, you can stay at the Crescent. And the Crescent is up on like top of the mountain. And it's a beautiful location, not walkable to downtown. But its sister hotel, the Basin Park, is walkable to downtown. It is right in the middle of everything. And I've stayed there the last 2 years, so for both film festivals. And what's great about it is it has a lot of the same vibes as the Crescent. It is also haunted. It is also old. It is also quirky. They give you a real key at check-in, which is a novelty these days. And you can just walk everywhere. And it's nice, when you get out of the theater in the evening after your last screening, you can just have a short walk up to your hotel but still get all of the, historic haunted hotel vibes. So there, and I haven't even mentioned the, all the great places to eat and all of that, but there is just no shortage of things to keep you busy, keep you entertained. And like I said, the vibes are good. The people are good. So yeah, if you're looking for something a little different, something that hundreds of thousands of other horror fans aren't talking about, I would say come on out. Come to Arkansas. Come to Eureka Springs. I really think that this kind of thing might be where it's at for me as a horror fan right now. I've been watching horror my whole life, and sometimes it feels like a little bit of that like magic is gone, a little bit of that like spark is gone. But it was really there for me this past weekend at Nightmare in the Ozarks, and I'm really thankful for it. And like I said, these are lower budget films, and so you are going to give up a little bit of production value. The acting is not going to be quite as great, and the effects might not be quite as polished, and all of that. But what you give up in production value, I think you really gain in originality and authenticity. And I think these filmmakers, because they're just executing a vision without a whole lot of cooks in the kitchen, there's some special stuff going on. And so I expect it to grow. I mean, I was looking around this weekend and I was like, I think that sky's the limit here. I think that this thing's going to continue to grow and become popular, and people are going to catch on and they're going to show up. And I want it to grow, of course, but I'm also a little selfish right now. I'm like, maybe I want to keep this little hidden gem to myself, but I'm not, because I'm sharing it with you. So If you want to know more about Eureka Springs, about Nightmare in the Ozarks, hit me up. If you're interested in coming next year, it's always like the third weekend in October. Let me know, and I would love to meet you there. I would love to give you the rundown on Eureka Springs and meet you there. And I think next year, maybe in September or early October, I would love to get the festival director, Colton, on the show so you can hear more from him about, how it was founded and what it's all about. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. And as always, until next time, stay spooky. Thanks for tuning in. You can find the show on Instagram and Facebook at Light and Shadow Pod. Sign up to become a supporter on Patreon for early access to all episodes and more. Please rate, review, and subscribe to help other people find the show. Until next time, stay spooky.